Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Mike Wood. Hope you are getting ready for a wonderful weekend because it's Memorial Day weekend. And so, probably nobody is watching this show right now, but I'm still going to do it because I have a process and I want to keep up on that process. So, happy Friday, everybody. This week, SAP rebrands itself as an AI company and lays out the autonomous enterprise. OpenAI stands up a $4 billion deployment company and points it straight at HR. Juicebox launches always on sourcing agents that go find the candidate before they ever apply. And Generation AI is graduating. I'm Mike Wood. Hit the theme song.
It's the rap, HR tech news and shenanigans. It's the rap. Here's your host, Mike Wood.
All right. Happy graduation weekend to all those college seniors out there. A few million people this weekend are about to pick up a diploma. Among them, Theo Banker at Stanford. He's a real journalist who finds a thread and pulls on it no matter what it's going to unravel. He's got a book out this week about his Stanford experience. And guess what? It was weird. His class was the first cohort to spend all 4 years of college alongside ChatGPT. It dropped on campus 2 months after he did. Looking back, he says that they weren't a class that adopted a tool. Essentially, they were a class that was run through one, an experiment, in his words. Now, these kids aren't stupid. It's Stanford. But watch how they adapted coursework when ChatGPT exists. Trivial. Internships, meh. They switched from caring about whether something would be on the test or not to how they could get paid and how they could get paid fast. Why spend a semester in advanced coding, learning the slow way, testing, building, when you could ship out something now, raise millions, and figuring it out as we go? Everyone is chasing that bag, and it got me thinking about how much has changed over the last decade. It used to be when you were looking for job candidates, especially young workers, they wanted to work for a mission-focused organization. The offer to young workers was that the work meant something. Go back 10 or 15 years, and the founder archetype, whatever its hypocrisies are, at least pointed toward change and positive change. So disease, literacy, clean water, problems with body counts and actual figures to them. Bill Gates did a lot of philanthropy before he did the philanthropy. Now, you could be cynical about the marketing and still concede that the marketing was aimed somewhere outward. So the dominant founder energy now points inward at valuation, at extraction, at the personal balance sheet, at the increasingly literal project of accumulating enough to wall yourself off from the consequences. Look at all the billionaires that are building bunkers right now. A young person deciding where to spend their 20s reads that shift as clearly as Baker's classmates read theirs. The change the world pitch still gets made, but it has to be made now to an audience that has watched where the money actually goes. Now, the job market is bad right now. But it will not be bad forever. Labor markets are cyclical. The rung that gets sawed off, and eventually, in some form, it gets rebuilt. The hiring freeze thaws, and on the day it does, the people who today have no leverage at all get something back: the ability to say no. So this is the question that I keep turning over. We have spent the last few years training an entire generation, the sharp ones, the Stanford ones, to read work as a pure transaction, because that is what we showed them it was. You don't need people, just lay them off. You're just here to make a buck and leave. When the cycle turns and that cohort, a few years more experienced and considerably less frightened, finally gets to choose, what type of place will they want to go to? You cannot spend a generation's whole entry into the workforce teaching it how to follow the money and then act surprised when that's the only thing it follows. So that's the frame for this week. Now let's take a look at the news that's already pointing in that direction.
HR tech news of the week.
All right. First up, SAP at Sapphire this week said that the future of ERPs is that it stops being software you operate. It becomes a system that runs the business process itself, and they're calling it the autonomous enterprise. The scaffolding behind it is 224 agents and 51 assistants across finance, HR, and the rest of the suite. A proprietary tabular data model built to reason over the massive structured data that trips up ordinary LLMs. A knowledge graph as the semantic layer that lets agents understand how SAP's data actually connects. And with Joule Studio, it's a developer environment where you can build agents on top of it. So CEO Christian Klein is now calling SAP an AI company, not SAP that uses AI, an AI company. I specifically pointing to Josh Burson's breakdown because it's required reading. I'll link to it in the show notes. And the analogy he uses is great. He uses Waymo versus Zox, or they don't really have them in Boston yet. I think that's how you pronounce it, Zoox, Zox. So let's just, if I get it wrong, then I'm a boomer and I don't understand things. So Waymo is a normal car that drives itself. It's an existing vehicle and it's automated. Zox threw out that car. They designed a whole thing around the passenger. There's no steering wheel, no driver's seat. Burson's read on SAP's autonomous enterprise is that it's Waymo. It's automating existing SAP processes brilliantly, but it doesn't reimagine how the work gets done. The underlying process is still the SAP process, just now with agents driving. And that's not a knock. Waymos are amazing, but it tells you where SAP is and where they are. The agentic layer is on top of the existing model, not a rebuild of the model. It's the companies that are eventually going to ship Zox-like class systems. That's what I'm trying to figure out is going to look like in the future, and that's what I'll be watching. All right, next story. OpenAI rolled out the OpenAI deployment company on May 15th, more than $4 billion in initial investment. But what is that, Mike? Well, it embeds forward deployed engineers inside customer organizations to redesign workflows around AI. The context is that this follows OpenAI's February frontier alliances with McKinsey, BCG, Boston Consultant Group, Accenture, and Capgemini, and it lands alongside Alanthropic's own roughly $1.5 billion services venture backed by Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and Hellman and Friedman. The model providers are explicitly building right now has consulting arms. HR tech executives Jill Barth flagged this, and this is where I got this story. And the part that HR leaders should sit up for is that the forward deployed engineers are explicitly being pointed at the hiring pipelines. So performance management, workforce planning, the bigger picture is that the foundation model providers are scaling to new heights, and they already weren't content to just sell APIs. They've been encroaching on the platform layer where HR tech vendors used to be safe. Now they're eating the consulting layer too, that layer that used to translate vendor product into HR workflow. The model maker, the systems integrator, the change management partner, increasingly, they're all the same logo. So these platforms are where the market is heading, and HR tech companies need to be ready and integrated. Juicebox rolled out AI agents that continuously source candidates across every open role, mapping a talent graph, surfacing matches, running targeted outreach with a speed that no human team can team up with. Founder David Pfaffenholz frames the agents as exhaustive, map everyone to a role, find the top ones, and reach the ones who fit. The company has powered 560,000 plus searches, engaged 3 million plus candidates. Ramp, Cursor, Cognition are among the named customers. And Juicebox's own framing is the part that I want to hit on right here. They're saying that the average opening now draws nearly 250 applications. This is that application inflation that we've been seeing. Inbound pipelines are buckling over low intent candidates, and the companies responding best have stopped trying to fix inbound altogether. I had a chance to sit down briefly with David and the Juicebox team at Unleash a few weeks back. It's a great team. Great product. I love this direction. This is the exact move that I predicted last week. When the front door is jammed, sourcing moves to the top of the funnel and goes continuous. The agent doesn't wait for the flood of applications. It goes and finds the candidate before they apply. So 2 things to notice here. One is that this is the first stage of that 2030 model that I described last week. Always on, continuous, agent in the market every day, whether the company is hiring today or not. Number 2, Juicebox is selling this to companies that are already drowning. The pitch isn't do more inbound recruiting. It's stop relying on inbound at all. That's a meaningful shift in how recruiting teams will need to organize themselves. I'll be interested to watch this moving forward. All right, we got some funding news this week. I'm going to pull this up on the big screen so you can see it. Humanly raised another $25 million. It seems like every couple of weeks they're raising another 25 million, but that's great for them. They are doing a lot of good moves. Congrats to Prem and Birch Faber and everybody over at the team there. The Find $21 million growth investment from Unbundled Capital. They're a Provo-based AI native workforce management for frontline workers. Frontline remains the segment where funding keeps going. It makes sense that 80% of the workforce is vastly underserved by the desk server roles. Deal acquired Stratify, which is a clone-based SaaS procurement platform. Terms were undisclosed, but this is Deal's 10th acquisition since 2022, and it folds into Deal IT alongside the Hoffy pickup. And then Sale is a $2.2 million pre-seed round. This one's interested because it's a physician-founded healthcare staffing model. It's the pitch is essentially a universal credential passport, which if you've done any healthcare hiring, you know how valuable that is. But this is something that I see being that universal credit or universal credential that you do carry with you. So that takes that part. So 4 different deals. They're all kind of around the same things this week. It's time to move into some hot takes. 2 prominent voices in the HR tech space launched something new this week. I always love to spotlight the people in this industry when they're shipping cool stuff. And what's better than promoting people you actually like? Nothing. So first, longtime friend of the program, Robin Schooling, has teamed with Bell Sage Partners on a new recruitment on demand team. That team is headed by Managing Director Rachel Cote, because we're down in Baton Rouge. Did you just eliminate your recruiting team because of AI? Did you? Well, and are you now realizing that you have jumped the gun? Give them a call because they now have a recruitment on demand function. And you'll love talking to Robin. Just ask her about her numerous HR stories. Second, Orlando Haynes of the Career Talks podcast has launched Career Capital. It's an AI powered platform for employees that captures and articulates workforce wins in real time. The idea is that when a review comes up or job search happens, the professional has structured evidence already in hand. This is that career agent in your pocket that I keep talking about. A real version. It's shipping. It's worth checking out. Congrats to both Robin and Orlando. The links are in the show notes, and I'll link out to more of them. It's time to move into some cool podcasts that I have. I'm still rolling through the interviews that I did in Vegas at Unleash and Transform, and there were 2 quick podcasts that I wanted to call out. They're both AI interviewer focused and both making the same counterintuitive pitch, but both arriving from opposite ends of the funnel. So first, there's Aaron Wang, who's the CEO of Alex AI. Alex starts the moment the application lands. It calls the candidate, it leaves a voicemail, it chases the email, it runs the screening conversation automatically or autonomously. Wang's case for why this is suddenly necessary is what I've been calling application inflation. When every resume is AI polished and reads the same, the keyword match is not going to work like it used to work. The differentiation has to move to a live conversation. Check it out. Here's a clip of that interview.
AI is going to take everybody's jobs. It's going to be this incredible disruptor. And frankly, I can't think of a more interesting problem to work on than say, what if we actually flip the script there? What if we actually use AI to help people get their jobs, help people find the right opportunities? And that's what Alex AI is all about, right? Alex AI is, our motto is interview everyone, hire the best, right? Give every candidate a voice. So if you're an employer, right, use Alex. If they apply to that job, they get the opportunity to at least share their voice, right? And why they deserve to be a part of that.
Everybody gets a shot.
Everybody gets a shot. Doesn't matter if you got a 4.0 from Harvard or you didn't, right? Especially with nowadays, everybody's using AI to make their resumes look incredible. They all look the same, yep. Right? And so the way you're going to have to differentiate candidates is you're going to need to have a conversation with them, right? And dig into their background, dig into their details. And that's great for candidates as well because they want a personalized experience, right? I don't want a canned response. I don't want a canned asking and answering the same questions. If I'm a candidate, right, I want you to dig into my experiences and I want to prove to you why I'm the right fit for them.
I love that. There's been many times in interviews in my past careers and stuff that I leave the interview and I'm like, oh, there's so much more that I could have gotten out there that I can't show on my resume because a resume is just a piece of paper. This is great. I think getting into more of that nuance and talking to people and finding out, whether there's actually a good fit there before you start the whole process is key. Now, there's the same pitch from the other direction. I talked to Yazad Dalal, who's the chief growth officer at Jovio, and he's also the one that suggested I go horseback riding, which I did. And he told me about like how Jovio got started, and that it was really started off of this notion of a job for everyone, and their ambition is what they call a 4-3-2-1 ratio: 4 apply clicks, 3 applications, 2 shortlists, 1 hire. But rather than absorb tens of thousands of applicants and sort them, Jovio is targeting people and making sure that the pool is the right pool before they do the AI interview. Check out some of my conversation with Yazad. Having to go through, apply for a job, do all the manual tasks, then wait for the phone call from the recruiter that you think is a first interview, but no, it's really just asking you the same questions that the application asked you, and that half hour is a waste of everybody's time.
Have you seen those videos on Twitter or on Instagram? People love them, where somebody walks up to a flooded street or sidewalk, and all they do is reach in and grab the sludge out of the drain. And people like to see those kinds of things.
Very satisfying. I saw it on Reddit under like oddly satisfying.
That's what we're trying to do for the entire process. Remove that sludge. For 30 years, 40 years, you submit an application, it goes into sludge. You don't know if it's moved downriver or if it's stuck where it was, or if it never moved and nobody ever sees it. For the recruiter, it's the exact same thing. It's the same sludge. So how do we streamline that? That's the promise of AI, is that if every candidate, sounds counterintuitive, but if every candidate got an interview, that means structured responses are coming in from every candidate. Insights are being able to be pulled from every candidate without the recruiter having to even wake up yet. This is happening while you sleep.
That's great. I love that analogy of the sludge. I lost my slides here for a second. Hold on one second. Let me get my slides back. All right. I love the whole sludge thing because that's essentially what we're doing. We're putting too much crap into the pipelines out there. So I do want to end the show by talking a little bit more about Theo Baker's piece. If I can pull up my wrap show thing here. All right, that's not working. But in Worth a Click this week, I referenced the book that Theo Baker's writing. It's called How to Rule the World. You got to check it out. This guy is he's my new kid hero. He's a freshman who broke the mark. He basically broke a research integrity story that won it put a target on his back, but it actually it ended up to the looking into allegations against the dean of the school there, and actually took him down. But I love how he describes what Stanford is like now. And so you have to imagine that these are like the new leaders of the world, and they're coming out and he describes a Stanford where VCs hire upperclassmen to scout the freshmen, where actually joining the official startup club is a negative signal, because if you were really doing it, you'd be too busy. So it's really interesting look at this. But there's also a line I want from the piece that I want to check you out. And by the way, in the wrap, you can see this whole story. It's an interview with him on the New York Times. But this quote he says is great. There's a common refrain among people in this world that it's easier to raise money for a startup right now to get an internship. He's right. That's where we are right now. It is much easier to do your own thing than to try to go through hiring systems that have been broken. So if I was in college right now, I would try to get an internship for real on the ground experience, but I would also start a side hustle with Claude because that may actually be the place where on the ground experience is forming. So that's it for this week's wrap. If you're not oversubscribed to the free newsletter, or if you want to subscribe to the free newsletter, head over to ilovetherap.com. It hits your inbox every Friday. And if you want deeper dives on the vendors we cover here every week, head over to the website. Check out that vendor intel tab I put together with all sorts of information about the vendors and how people feel about them. It's all public information that just sits out there. Plus, check out the labor market tab that I update every month for the latest news on where we are in the labor market. And you'll notice that actually, I'll pull it up here on the show. That I put out a new measure of underemployment for the website. So let me just pull this up here for you before my very nice sign off. Share my screen. Let's look at the wrap. All right. So if you look at the wrap, you'll see that I have an underemployment index. What I did was I used Claude to look at the government numbers that are out there, plus all the sources that I have here in the labor market tab, and find out it's not just the unemployment number, but there's an underemployment number. There's people that are forced into part-time work. They're forced into work that is not up to their capabilities. And so I tried to kind of put this together because it's something that I've been waiting for forever. So we're going to track it. I want you to look at where we are right now. So let me see. Hopefully you can see me right now. So right now the unemployment index is at 62.5. And that puts us right where the bottom half of the summer of 2020. Things are as bad, or things feel as bad for workers as it did then. So it's crazy. Check it out. I love the wrap.com. It's on the labor market tab. I'm Mike Wood. I hope you guys have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and I'll see you next week with all new news and shenanigans. Take care.